Oh, yeah.
Hello, and welcome to yet another edition of the Fantasy Football Podcast with me, Rob Lambert, and my soon-to-be sworn enemy, David Utteridge.
So,
It would be easy to assume that you listened to previous episodes. If, however, you didn't, I will briefly run through exactly how it works. Each week we will choose a five-a-side team based on a theme chosen by the person playing at home and argue for who would win in each position. The home side will alternate each week. We have the option of one super sub if one of our choices is already taken, and the winner will be gifted a prize from the loser. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, this will be done direct to the winner's door via post, but whether it's next day delivery is entirely optional. In last week's edition, I picked up my first win, defeating David with my team of Marvel villains, Magneto acting as the unquestionable winning piece in my tactical puzzle against David's selection of metallic midfield maestros. I will attempt to get a second win to equal David's record. I will be playing as the away side, so it is my turn to host and David's turn to pick our theme. So without further ado, I will now ask David what this week's theme is.
hi Rob, how's it going?
Not bad, are you okay?
Yeah, all good, all good. Did you get your prize?
I did actually, and I was about 60-40 in the ratio of liking it and hating it, but that's mostly good.
Would you like to share what it was, or shall I?
Yeah, no, I'll happily explain what it was. Obviously, I'm a massive fan of the film Fight Club. It's probably my favourite film. Well, surely my favourite film. And I also like the soundtrack by the Dust Brothers. And you'd got me the soundtrack to Fight Club secondhand, clearly, which is fine. You know, I really don't think it got to the £10 limit. If it got to the £5 limit, I'd be impressed. But that's fine. But what I did notice was that it was already unwrapped, and you'd someone, I can't say you because that's harsh to assume, but someone had scratched out the whole circle of the other side of the disc, which had the opening song from it, which is my favourite song, which is for I'm a big fan of a good opening title sequence, and that's completely scratched out, and it would you'd have to go to a lot of effort to scratch that all the way around, so the song before and after weren't damaged, but someone had, unfortunately, so I can't actually listen to that song. It almost seems spiteful, but I doubt you'd go that far, surely.
Yeah, definitely not me, who did the scratching, but might have been searching for those specifications.
Yeah,
whilst buying it reduced the price. It kept it cheap.
Well, I'm glad of that for you. Less so for me, because that was if I were to buy the CD myself, which I have before, and actually I don't know what happened to it. But if I were to get it, it would mostly be because I'd want that song, and it's not on the you can't download it separately, so it's quite upsetting. But it's the thoughts there, providing you didn't scratch it, yeah.
It's the poison chalice of winning, really, or to put you back in your box for this week.
Don't want to get too carried away.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of this week, probably a good time to reveal our theme, which is, of course, chosen by me this week. So I've gone for gaming icons, and I thought this made a lot of sense, really. I would say I like games more than I'm proficient at them, but I have owned in my time I owned a PlayStation 1, I owned an original Xbox, I've had Nintendo's DS, GameCube, and Switch. I am currently really in the Xbox family, truth be told, but I've also gamed on PC. So, a long history of portable and console and PC gaming. And I thought it was a bit different. I thought, we've had a few things from the big screen, and I thought this is an opportunity to kind of go away from things you watch and things that you're kind of more involved in. So I thought it was a nice something for episode 4, something to show people that we've got variations in the tank. This isn't just film and TV. So gaming icons. Any good for you?
Definitely. Yeah. No. I mean, yeah. I've pretty much just gone between PlayStation and Xbox in quite a moral battle since PlayStation One came out. So yeah, no, it's a very good theme for me as well. Not as not I'm not as good as I would be for last week, but I've definitely got a lot of good ideas for this week.
Yeah, there's one in this that I just think is going to blow your socks off, to be honest with you. I've got one that I'm absolutely certain is right up your street. But then there are others that some of this is weird, right? Because with Marvel
Mm.
villains or even witches and wizards, and maybe mobsters and gangsters to an extent, although obviously with me you're a bit limited. This really, some of mine really do depend on if you played the game. Like if you haven't
Yeah,
played the game, you won't get kind of why it's such a clever pick, I think. And so
yeah.
that this it'd be quite nice to sort of see where we cross over because generally we've played like FIFA together and we
Yeah.
talked about a few other games. I think we've both played the Telltale series of pretty much
Oh yeah.
everything and some crossover with other things we've talked about. But it would be quite interesting to see like what games you played, Rob pre David.
Yeah, and vice versa. Um, yeah, and I think with this, I feel like there was a fair few where I was like, oh, I might include them, and then I thought they wouldn't be very good at football, or they were quite basic characters, and they're just sort of like Joe Everyman from whatever game.
Yeah,
And I thought, no, that's not going to do anything. So it did take some thought.
yeah, absolutely. There's some real head and heart conundrums here.
Yeah.
There's a few that you think that's when you think gaming icon, you think, oh, can I really leave that one out? Or can I take like an adjacent character to them from their series? And you're
Mm.
sort of thinking like, is it weird that you take that kind of secondary character instead of the main one and then trying to fit that in with football and
Yeah.
oh, it's been a rush. It's been an absolute rush.
Well, yeah. Should we get going?
Well, before all that, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, which of
Oh,
course has to be the team names. It has to
I,
be.
you know what? This is my favorite part, and I completely forgot.
You're too eager, man. You're too
I
eager.
know.
So, as the home side, I will take first pick and then leave you with the dregs because there's nothing better than this name. I finally managed to get Ipswich into a
Oh,
name. It's probably quite obvious now what it's going to be. It is, of course, Nintendo Ipswich.
oh my! You know what? I didn't even expect that, and I haven't got that in mind at all. So that's a very good one.
Thank you, thank you. Blow it out the water. What you got?
I actually didn't even think of going for consoles. I just went for games. That's very clever. Once again, I've come up with one that I've picked as my actual choice, but I've also got a list of other ones that I just had to mention. Some I'm quite happy with, and others are just like dreadful, like hilariously dreadful. Um, the one I've gone for is MK Donkey Kong. So I feel like that's
Oh,
kind of pushing it because it hasn't. It should obviously be MK Dons, and there isn't Dons isn't in it. It's just Don, but I feel like that does work.
brilliant.
But I do have other options as well, which some I'm really happy with. Others, I just feel like it was so stupid I couldn't not mention them.
Let's go.
Um, every week we've got some kind of Hull reference, and I've actually got a friend who listens to our podcast who's requested that we keep continue to make Hull references. I know we mentioned. I'm trying to think of each one, but I know the most recent one was last week. We had a team called Hella City. The Hella, the baddie from Hull, Thor Ragnarok, mixed with Hull City. This week, one of my alternate options is Halo City, which is pushing it.
Tenuous.
It's a very tough one. Then I've got Granada Theft Auto.
Oh, that might be better than MK Donkey Kong.
It was so close between them to actually change so many times. A bit of an obvious one, but Super Mario Balotelli.
Yeah.
Ali Reza Yahan Baksh Bandicoot. That's really really like straining to make that work.
Oh.
Every week, I mean, I feel like every week I'm going to have one using this player, Fred Dead Redemption.
Stop. Right. That's a warning now.
I've only got one, two,
If you if you
six
if you
left.
do it one more time with Fred, it will be a Fred card. Hey.
Oh, I'll find one with Fred next week. That's gonna. I'll never have have him as my team name, but I've somehow got him as my optional. I've got Army of Tushel, Gears of Leisure Warsaw.
No.
These last two are the worst because I'm actually using letters instead of
Oh no.
words to make it work. I've got, and one is more a game manufacturer than a game. I've got Federico Kie Sports, like Federico Chiesa mixed with EA Sports, which is really pushing it. And even more, if you thought that was pushing it, I've also got The Last of Us MNT, as in the United States men's national team mixed with The Last of Us.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, what one of them has to be impressive, but as there's like 13, that was me reading quickly. I'm hoping one's good.
Hey, you've got a couple in there.
I mean, if we'd been off this podcast and I just come up with bad puns based on a theme each week, I'd be happy with that.
Would you?
Yeah. Well, I
I'm
think
being
so.
mean. I'm quite taken by some of those.
Which is your favourite? Some are really hard to say, so it's fine if you can't say them. I have to have them written down.
The one that's sticking with me most, probably because it's so bad, is probably Federico Chiesa. Was that what you said?
Yeah, Federico Kie Sports.
Oh, Kie Sports. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
It written down, it looks amazing, but when you trying to think here in your head, it definitely doesn't work. I don't know if it works written down,
No,
but it looks like
I like that. I like that. But please, for the love of all that's holy, stick with MK Donkey Kong.
All right, I'm glad I did.
We can all get on board with that. So yeah, that'll be Nintendo Ipswich versus MK Donkey Kong. Mario's my first choice, and there's no point in me pretending that it is going to be anyone other than Mario in the team. We're just going to get it out there.
Does it even matter where he plays?
Yeah, no, he's in the team. So I don't know. We all knew Mario was turning up, so I figured rip the band-aid off.
Yeah,
he is going to be going in centre midfield.
Oh,
so I figured Mario is like he's an all-rounder, isn't he? If you go on Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, he's all round at everything.
Yeah,
he's if you think gaming icon, he's the icon.
Yeah.
So he had to be in the team, and I thought put him right at the heart of the action. He can do a bit of everything. He'll win the ball back. He'll play it forward. He'll dribble around. He's not going to let you down. He's reliable. He's got a reputation that's going to, put the fear of God into people. He's a proven winner because he's got over 200 titles.
Yeah.
No, see what I did there? That was pretty solid.
I'd forgotten the sporting element as well. That he actually competed. I almost feel like I should not completely make sure I respect him because of his sporting accolades in the past in the fictional Olympics.
It's just I think it's a really good shout. And yeah, he's done it in a variety of different scenarios. He's done it in kart racing.
Yeah.
He's been in Smash Bros, so he's got that battling characteristics. He can jump on Coopers.
Yeah, yeah.
So there you go. Who are you possibly going to put in centre midfield that beats Super Mario?
Well, you know what? Normally, centre midfield is the position I put the most thought into. And as you hopefully remember from last week, that was where I won the game.
All right,
Uh,
get over it,
so
mate.
it's like Klopp wins the league and Lampard goes at him for mouthing off about it. That's me. But this week, if anything, it was kind of my last choice, and I wasn't. I think I feel like with a lot of video game characters, it's kind of you're going for like Maverick. You know, most of them are kind of like Mavericks or tough guys, and there's not really kind of a thinking man to use in midfield for the most part, because you don't want him to think, you want him to do. And with my selection, I've instead of going, oh no, I'll find someone right for it. I know last week you went for a defender that wasn't kind of in the mold of a traditional defender, and same with the winger position. You kind of I tend to go for players that I think suits it, and you kind of go, no, I'll do what I think will work for this team, which is also fine. But what I've done is I've gone for, I don't know if you've played in the Resident Evil games.
I have not.
There's a character in Resident Evil 2 called Mr. X. And it's the most terrifying thing ever because you'll be walking around the game, this massive police station, and out of nowhere, this guy just walks straight through a wall at you, and he's massive. He's like 7'5", and like I don't know, 6 foot wide, and he just walks through everything. And for the whole game, he walks after you. So he just walks and walks and walks, and he's massive.
What?
And so the whole game, you're running away from him, and he just keeps walking through walls after you, and he'll disappear for a bit, and then he'll come back, and it'll just keep going like that. So I thought I'll just go for the toughest person I can think of. So I've gone for Mr. X from Resident Evil.
Okay, I've just Googled him, and yeah, fair play. That is an intimidating presence.
Because I thought, he's the type of guy I know not one of my wisest picks, but he turns up totally out of the blue, is determined and impossible to stop. He can march through walls, people, zombies, and practically anything else. And so I think with that in mind, it's hoped that he can have the same approach on opposing defences.
Does he ever break out of a walk?
No. He just keeps going all the time. I think there's a bit where I'm trying to think. There is a bit where he just gets stopped because that's it. I think a car gets pushed onto him and then explodes, but I doubt that would happen in a football match. Maybe in like a Brazilian like second division or something.
Yeah,
but,
there's definitely places that
but
probably happens, but
but yeah, I think just for. All I can. I know we struggled to kind of find a winner for these, but I suppose Mario takes on that massive like bullet thing. I'm trying to think of when Mario's come up against like a physically strong opponent.
Oh, Rob.
To that degree.
Bowser? Is not Bowser.
I don't think he's that big, but he is pretty big.
Bowser's got a bit. Hang on, how big is this Mr. X dude? Like, are we talking just what footage? What footage?
I'm gonna have to look it up.
I'll look up Bowser's height.
All right,
and we'll find out.
Oh come on! That's so frustrating. I looked it up, and the top result is 8 inches because it's an action figure. No, I mean
I'm sorry, we have to take your first answer.
He's taller. Actually, no. I'll wait for your answer before I tell you what I just read because I'm scared.
Okay, right. Well, Bowser, I have got as being 8'7" as his actual height, but in boss fights,
yeah,
he's 9'5" plus. So he can get massive. I think standard massive is 9'5", and if you want the weight, it's £1,200 actual weight, £1,600 boss fight weight.
Oh God. Okay,
Big.
well, yeah. According to Reddit, which is obviously a very trustworthy source, but it's
Mm-hmm.
the only one that's given me anything to work with. The average door is 6'8". Which I don't think is true, but I'm just going to believe it anyway, because otherwise every door would just be so high. But anyway, but apparently people in a forum expect that Mr. X is taller than 7 foot, but no higher than 8 foot. So unfortunately, based on the fact that Mario can beat someone that's taller than 8 foot, and I was pretty much going on the fact that my midfielder would be physically strong and impossible to defeat, I think Mario would beat him.
Get in. Let's go. So I'm gonna go for my next up, and after last week's success of picking kind of a non-meta winger, I've reverted to going for a tricky winger, somebody who's gonna kind of bamboozle the opposition centre back, and I have gone for Eddie Gordo from Tekken.
Oh,
So, are you a Tekken man?
um, only a little bit.
Okay,
I'm
so
not well versed, but
so
I know who that is.
yeah, so he is for anyone not otherwise understanding of Tekken. Eddie is the capoeira guy, um, or the original capoeira guy. I then think he has since been. I think there was someone called Tiger Jackson who I think was a reskin of him, and then there's Christy Montero who also does capoeira. But I've gone for Eddie as the OG because I played um, Tekken on the PlayStation
Yeah,
back in the day, one of the first sort of fighting games I had, and I religiously played Eddie. He
yeah.
was just so cool. You're doing all like the capoeira moves. I have, in the process of researching this, I have seen that capoeira practitioners have said it's not a great representation
Oh, right.
of capoeira within the games.
Yeah,
But I like to think that Eddie is more than just the buttons that I mash.
yeah,
Eddie as a person and as a concept would be a tricky winger. He's step overs galore. He's just he's capable of handling like a muscly, your classic muscly centre backs
yeah.
who are physically imposing, but he is ultimately that master of trickery down the wing. So it's going to be Eddie Gordo taking on.
Well, you said he might be okay against the classic centre back, but as much as I've kind of gone for the typical centre back mould of strength and aggression, there's a bit more to the centre back I've picked. I've picked Agent 47 himself, Tobias Reaper. I mean, not. I mean, I think if you want a hitman in defence, this is an actual hitman. Um, he can take the guise of anyone in an attempt to assassinate a chosen target. So I think he'd be strong enough to outwit any opposing attacker, and he's also fiercely intelligent. So I think, and he's just one of them old fashioned centre backs. He's a Cannavaro, but I don't think he'd even want the ball. I think he'd actually just murder you because that's his job.
Wow, so you've really gone for all out on the murder angle. Crikey.
Yeah, I've gone for super strength this time, and also don't forget he has a pretty much unlimited amount of clones. So at half time, if he's a bit tired, he goes off, another one comes back on. It's not even him,
So,
which surely is cheating. But are you going to tell him?
well, exactly. I think I just leave it for Eddie to keep bamboozling the next one. On and on, hopefully. Okay, this is a tricky matchup, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
So we're thinking we're thinking Agent 47 probably has Eddie Gordo on the in like a physical battle.
Yeah, I'd think so.
But I think it would be fair to say that Eddie, for the positions we've picked, probably has the better footballing ability.
Yeah, I think so. Um,
So,
but I think Tobias Reaper could injure him and make it look like an accident.
oh, getting away with it. It's foul
He did.
play.
He'd do the old Sergio Ramos pulling the arm and falling over routine. Oh, why did he put his arm there? That wasn't me. I wouldn't do that. Not better.
Ouch. This is a tricky one. My
And I don't think there's any way of like looking up how else this could be judged.
yeah. What what niche argument could we make? I feel so capoeira is I'm probably going to upset a lot of people, but I believe capoeira is typically Brazilian.
Yeah.
And Eddie is also from Brazil.
Yeah.
Obviously, not not. I would say that's where the spirit of football resides. So I think Eddie's. I'm trying to really ramp up the bit that Eddie's already won here, which isn't necessarily helpful. Where's Agent 47 from? This is where you tell me he's like Brazilian as well. And that undermines me.
He's German American.
Right.
So he's got the German strength. That's for sure. I thought it'd be like Russian, to be honest. So, but yeah.
And as we well know, Germany did smash Brazil at home.
That's true. But you're the home team.
Which means Brazil's at home. They are.
Oh, was Brazil at home in that game?
Yeah, it was the World Cup, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, of course they were. They could not be at home. Oh my god.
We're recording this at 11:05 at night. Rob obviously should be going to bed. Please forgive him.
For some reason, I was like, but what if they were the away team in the World Cup? And it's like, yeah, the World Cup's in Brazil. Like, yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but what I'm saying.
Wait, but did they play?
No way around it. It was in Brazil.
Did they play? Oh wait, what if they were like registered away team? It was. Wait.
No, it's fine. If they're the home team, they're the
wait,
home
tenuous. Team. It's tenuous. No, it is coming up as 1-7 as opposed to 7-1. So, I think this is a win for Agent 47. To be honest with you, on the basis
once again, the person who picks the criteria loses.
Oh,
that's how it goes. I do it too much and it doesn't work for me, but I'll take it.
Dear, oh dear. Right, 1-1. So I'm going to go to centre back next, but at first I've got a question for you, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever played Sid Meier's Civilization?
I haven't, no.
Then this pick is going to surprise you. I've gone for the most aggressive character in any game in the history of gaming. And it does come from Civilization. If I'm being specific, well, it was in Civilization Revolution for the Xbox.
Yeah.
Which is the first game I ever truly 100%ed for achievements in 2014. Thank you. And it is the character, and I stress this is the character of Mahatma Gandhi.
Oh.
Look it up. Get Googling quickly now.
Oh, I am.
Mahatma Gandhi is incredibly, incredibly aggressive in Civilization. Again, the character of Mahatma Gandhi.
Apparently, there's apparently a bug 2 years after the release of Civilization called Nuclear Gandhi. I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to know. Why? Also, there's a blog on page 1 of Google which is why Gandhi is such an asshole in Civilization.
The character of Gandhi.
So confused.
Yeah, so I suppose as a brief explainer of Civilization is it's a bit like Risk on the computer.
Yeah, yeah.
It's jolly fun, strategic game, and you take on the role of some of you take on the role of a nation, and they're each led by like an infamous leader. So you can have sort of Napoleon, you can have like Genghis Khan, stuff like that.
All
So
right.
it's a pretty cool,
And
good old strategic game.
yeah, and that those people make sense, but Gandhi
Mm.
doesn't at all.
Yeah, so Gandhi comes along, and you think, oh yeah, this will be quite a passive, sort of peaceful bunch. So you focus your energies on fighting back the marauding French and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, like Jeff Brazier and the Postcode Lottery, Gandhi's knocking on your door. That's a very niche reference,
Yeah.
but he's there. He's battering down the door. He's taking your garrison. He's taking your locations. And he's just all together. Like he'll wipe you out. If you're not quick, he will wipe you out. He was always my biggest challenge. And
Oh.
he's just known for that aggression. And as a centre back, I think that works. I want him in a five-a-side match. I want my centre back getting that ball back, winning it, happy to sort of go for people, start an attack, not let you have too long on the ball, really suffocate you, Geigen press you.
Yeah.
And that's why I've chosen the character of Mahatma Gandhi from Civilization.
I honestly thought when you mentioned civilization, like I've got a rough idea in my head of what that is, and I thought it's just going to be some guy, like some guy in a suit that's got a big red button or something. But now I'm not really sure what to expect. Um, yeah, so for my options is kind of it's a name you couldn't leave out of this really. I wanted somebody who's kind of technical, physically strong, but not bulky enough to ruin their pace. So I've picked Lara Croft from the Tomb Raider series.
Brilliant.
Obviously, I mean everyone's played a Tomb Raider, but she's smart, surely technically gifted, the ideal winger, quick, clever, and surprisingly brutal.
Yeah, very strong pick.
I mean, Gandhi versus Lara Croft's the stuff of dreams, surely.
hell of a matchup. I played the Tomb Raider where you could lock the butler in the freezer and did
Yeah,
that for hours. I don't think
yeah.
I got past that bit.
Nothing ever beat that. Like as like glitches in games.
It's just what you wanted, really. That's the
Yeah.
sort of thing that like a preteen me thought was mad bants.
Oh yeah. I think post teen me sees that as mad bants, to be honest.
So, Gandhi
I,
versus Croft.
I don't even know. I don't. I mean, there's no possible way of judging this. But I mean, I'm kind of having to assume how strong Gandhi in Civilization is, but it sounds pretty strong.
If you've got people on the internet calling Gandhi an asshole, he's got to be quite frustrating.
I am quickly looking if there are any blogs as people have written about Lara Croft versus Civilization Gandhi.
That would be really helpful. It'd be a bit disappointing for the originality of the podcast,
Yeah.
but would help us make a decision. I think that is.
Well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is this podcast segment is completely original.
Yes.
But the bad news is because of that, nobody's put the two together.
Okay, so we're looking for a niche way to separate these, then I guess, unless anybody wants to fall on their sword. But I feel like
it's just a tough one because I mean, like this is gaming icons, and Lara Croft is an icon.
It's true.
She's never beaten. She always finds a way. If she hasn't got enough bullets, she'll use a bow and arrow. If she doesn't do that, she'll beat him up. She can't be asked to beat him up. She'll stab him with one of them cave climbing stick things. There's always a way around it.
But has she ever come up against someone she expected to be peaceful? Does Gandhi flip it on its head?
And actually, I know I'm very good at shooting myself in the foot on this, but she's quite a spiritual person, isn't she? So would she be able to actually go up against Gandhi?
I think not. I mean, I think Gandhi disarms her initially because she's thinking, well, do I really need to? Do I need to
She,
put that much effort in? And then, bam! Suddenly,
yeah, I looked it up, and she's Catholic. Um, but apparently, all versions of Lara Croft, she mentions God, and that she believes in a God, but she doesn't always highlight that she's Catholic. So she could actually be a different religion, and therefore maybe she wouldn't go for Gandhi.
hey, that's a good enough reason for me. I would be quite happy to stick my neck out on the line. And
I mean, it feels wrong to have Lara Croft lose this week considering what the theme is. But I'm just thinking, if she wasn't going to fight somebody, surely it would be based on the fact she's so obsessed with relics and religion and spirituality. Surely the one person she's going to be like, I'm not going to beat this guy up or try and get past. I know they're not actually meant to be fighting.
yeah,
But the one person she might not try and cross is Gandhi. Surely.
it would stand to reason. And I would say that to a certain community of gamer, and I know it's a bit of a niche, but there's still a big market out there for Civilization.
Oh,
This
I'm sure there
Gandhi
is.
thing is known. It's huge. It's defining of the game that Gandhi is so obscenely aggressive.
Yeah, which sounds really scary.
It really does take you by surprise. I feel like as a
Yeah,
player, you probably have the same experience that Lara Croft would have, where you think, "Oh yeah, I'll get around him easy," underestimate him, and suddenly
yeah,
he's
that's
taken
true.
ball, shins. That's pretty much all he can take, actually. But it ball and shins,
Yeah,
football and shins, of course.
yeah. All right. Well, I have to concede for that one.
Gandhi beats Lara Croft in Gaming Icons Week? Whoa. Never say this pod doesn't throw up great results. So we're going to go between the sticks next. We are going to look at my goalkeeper and your striker. And I've gone back to the Nintendo family with this one.
Oh,
Did you ever own a Nintendo Wii?
you know what? I didn't. I kind of skipped that bit.
You're killing me here, Rob. Um, okay, well then you won't have had the most unpleasant experience in gaming. And as I say that, I'm not sure I believe it, but stick with me. You will be aware, I'm sure, of Wii Sports,
Yeah.
and you will know there is a game mode with baseball.
Yes.
Now, it doesn't matter what difficulty you're at, the opposition Mii's, so your little avatar, the Mii's,
Yeah.
they caught everything. The
Uh,
ones on your team, well, they always get these gurs and they drop them like, wet lettuces. The opposition Mii's on Wii Sports Baseball would catch everything, whether it was going for a home run, one of them somehow leapt out of nowhere and caught it. If it's like gone up in the air for years, they caught it straight at them hard, catch it. No matter what, they caught it. So I have gone for a Mii from Wii Sports as my goalkeeper because there's no way a ball's getting past them. They will catch apps. So that's what you're up against.
that's a tough one, I think. um, I've gone for one that as soon as you mentioned the theme, I just couldn't leave out. I've been obsessed with Halo since high school, so leaving Master Chief out would be nothing short of sacrilege. So I've picked him as my striker. For the record, I'm referring to the main character in the Halo saga, and not either of John Turturro or Greg Wallace from Master Chef. That would be awful. And as much as I like Master Chef, I expect I'd spend a lot of it waiting for either of them to be harshly slide tackled by a much more capable defender. Yeah, so I've gone for Master Chief. Just one of them characters that you can't defeat, and I think I just can't see him not scoring. He's been in so many games, and I mean, he doesn't age, and nothing harms him. His health regenerates very quickly. He's good in the air, because if you ever played Halo before, you can bounce around all over the place. Um, you never get tired. So therefore, I just don't I think he's surely the most ruthless and consistent player you could have from a gaming character.
Yep. And let's be real here. There's no way, there's absolutely no way that I can argue for a me to beat Master Chief.
Oh,
But I am determined to try and upset the apple cart. So I think I'm going to go at this point. It's a risky maneuver. I'm going to bring on a super sub
oh,
in goal as well. So this
and
is something else.
this is it.
This is yeah. It's a risky move, but I think so. I picked probably the most iconic gaming character, and I know I might have said that about Mario,
Yeah.
but there is one of greater renown, I think. Just one as well. So coming in between the sticks to replace the me from Wii Sports is the legendary Pac-Man.
Oh,
Well,
that's
I expected a bigger reaction than that, but
I just didn't even think of it, so
it
I'm baffled.
it scared you. It scared you. I see. I see. So a bit of trivia, just while we're here, a bit of fun. Pac-Man was originally called Puck-Man because he's shaped like a hockey puck.
Yeah.
So there's
Oh,
some like sporting.
all right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's some sporting ability there.
Yeah.
The reason they changed from Puck-Man to Pac-Man is because American arcades were worried that people might deface the
Oh,
name.
right. Yeah.
Yep. So yes, they changed it to Pac-Man instead of Puck-Man because they were worried that it would go a different way. Anybody still confused can Wikipedia that and they will find out what it is because we are a safe for work podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, so he goes around and he chews up all these balls in the maze, doesn't he? So again,
Yeah.
it's another one
No,
of these
that's
that's good at hanging on to those. He's come up against pretty stiff competition in the form of I better get this right. It's Blinky, Inky, Pinky, and Clyde.
Yeah.
They're the ghosts.
I didn't know that's what they even have names.
Yeah, they've all got names and they've all got different behaviors based on who they are. So now this is the bit that I'm definitely not right on, but I believe one of them likes to chase Pac-Man. So his behavior is always to be like chasing.
Yeah.
Two of them, I think, like to try and get in front of Pac-Man and corner him.
Yeah.
And then one of them, Clyde, likes to run away from Pac-Man.
Oh.
I've definitely got that wrong. I've missed a behavior somewhere.
Well, I mean, all I'm really thinking from this is that, I mean, when the people what are they, I mean, are they always ghosts? They're not always ghosts, are they? They're only ghosts when he eats something that's bad and then they turn into ghosts. I haven't played Pac-Man in so long.
So they're always ghosts, but then sometimes they become edible. When he goes into the corner, he'll get like an energizer, and then they become edible.
Oh yeah, it's the other way around, isn't it? It's not that they're always chasing him, and it's not that he's always chasing them,
Yeah.
and then they can. Yeah, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
But, God, this is pushing it. But it is possible for Master Chief to go invisible.
Oof.
So based on that, if Master Chief were to go invisible using a active camo, that's it. I'm trying to remember from my Halo days. If he were to use active camo, maybe he would then be able to defeat Pac-Man, because that's how he can defeat. That's how Pac-Man can be defeated. That's all I'm thinking. That's all I've got.
Hey, you got to throw these things out there. You're 2-1 down, so I appreciate you chucking that out there.
Scraping the barrel.
What we've got is a battle between two titans. Very much, if this was 15 years ago, it would be old school versus new school. As it is, it's old school versus old school. New old school. What am I saying? Yeah. Help me. Halo was the first game I played on my Xbox 360 as well, which is, so it's got a place in my heart. I've never had a positive KD.
Halo, there's always a special place in my heart for Halo 2 and Halo 3.
Yeah.
After that, it went a bit like, I think by Halo like 6, I don't really care anymore. But Halo 2 and 3 were.
Are you saying that Master Chief can't therefore go the distance?
He can, but I just feel like it's a bit weird for me now. Because I'm like,
because I personally have never got fed up of Pac-Man. I've never once. When it came out on the Google thing, what was it, like 10 years ago? We were all on the Google Doodle playing a bit of Pac-Man. So are we at the point of trying to find a niche differential?
Well, I've looked it up, and there's nobody. Well, people are questioning who'd win, but no one actually answers who'd win. Because it's such a hard thing to fight.
Yeah.
There's not really. They would never come up against each other in any way.
So footballing credentials. I don't think it's unfair to probably say it's probably Master Chief.
Well, as he's got legs.
Yeah, as he's got legs, and also as he's a striker and Halo is a shooter, he probably gets that.
Yeah.
So then we're looking at kind of like how iconic they are within gaming. And they're both pretty iconic.
Like you say, it's kind of different eras. You know.
Do you think more people would recognize Pac-Man or Master Chief?
Oh, definitely Pac-Man.
Which then doesn't help because we get to 1-1. Oy. I love these and I loathe them. And now I'm thinking, don't bring a Pac-Man to a Master Chief fight.
I mean, if I swap mine for Greg Wallace from Master Chef, would that
make
it any better chance?
Of course, Greg would win. And if you brought in John Turode, we'd lose. Yeah.
I've got such a connection to Master Chief. I just can't back down.
I think if we stay true to footballing ability, I have probably just wasted a super sub. But it was good to get Pac-Man in, right?
Pac-Man has to be in it somewhere. Just as Lara Croft did. And she didn't win either.
It was good to have Pac-Man involved, but I do think if I'm being honest, it is probably still a win for Master Chief, which takes us to 2-2. Shock horror.
It makes for a great find.
Doesn't it just? And you are going to love what comes next. So, gaming icons. 2-2, final matchup. My striker, your goalkeeper. So really, I've got to go on the offense. And I have picked someone who is, again, iconic within their game. And I think if you say, who's the best player of all time from Pro Evolution Soccer, they would tell you it's Adriano from PES 5. So I've gone with a football player.
You know what? I was considering this. And it's a very good idea, so fair play.
I thought you'd enjoy this one. So we've got Adriano. For those that don't know, Adriano, he was a striker with a lot of potential, who probably never lived up to it, despite having a fairly good career. You know, appearances for the national team, played for some really high-profile clubs in Italy. So he was a decent player in his own right.
Mm.
But PES 5 Adriano was ridiculous. PES 5 Adriano had 99 shot power, which meant he could score from like the halfway line.
Yeah, it was just unfair and just ridiculous. Obviously, he was a brilliant player at the time, but sadly, he didn't sort of have the rest of the career that he was meant to have. But it was just ridiculous ratings.
And I found out apparently the reason for that is that Adriano and Alvaro Recoba
Mm.
were both favorite players of the studio head at the time.
Oh,
It's a
right.
guy whose nickname was Seabass.
Oh,
And so he really liked Adriano and Recoba and said they had to be the most powerful players in the game. So they just ramped their shot power up to 99. So that's why with those two, you could just score absolute bangers. And it's I'm a FIFA player. I've never really been a PES player,
yeah.
but I know Adriano in PES 5 is probably the best footballer in a football game that there has ever been.
Well, that's the thing. I think even if I had the ultimate team 99 rated Messi, I don't know if that'd even beat it.
Exactly.
Player for player, obviously wouldn't beat him in goal. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
okay, well, for my goalkeeper, I went more traditional with gaming icons, and I thought who's gonna stop a shot based on the obviously some players you can kind of argue things, but with the goalkeeper it is just like you've done with your pick. It's like who's actually capable of catching a ball when needed. So I've gone for Rayman
That is.
because I think he's got arms. His hands aren't actually attached to his body. He doesn't even have arms, so his hands can just stretch out to anywhere. Um, and of course, I'm referring to the classic video game and not the severely autistic character Dustin Hoffman played in the 1988 film Rain Man. Um, and aside from the theme, he'd be rubbish in goal. But but I just think he'd be a perfect goalkeeper. He's not massively tall, but his hands aren't connected to his body, but they can extend um, for a fair distance, I think. And he's
Yeah, yeah.
also very flexible and durable. So he takes a beating, but he carries on.
That's a solid shout. That is a solid shout. I must admit, he never even came into my head.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, like I say, I mean, I did consider just going, well, why not use a football player from a football game? But even if I had, I don't think I'd find a player as strong as PES 5 Adriano.
I think that's the thing. So Rayman is missing some limbs,
Yeah,
and I think that severely reduces the chance. Look, the only way Adriano isn't scoring is if Adriano botches it.
yeah,
And he's just blasting that at the goal, and botching it might include hitting it straight at the keeper. But Rayman's missing some limbs here, so
yeah,
there's less keeper to hit it at.
yeah.
So we've got a bit more of the goal for Adriano to just be like pumping these from distance.
I mean, I really, obviously, I mean, I'm already 2-1 down so far, and I really wanted to make it 2-2 this week, but I just don't. I hate to say it, but there's just there's no way getting past Adriano.
What if I told you it's already 2-2?
No, I mean,
Oh
altogether.
fuck! Sorry. Okay, there's no way getting past Adriano. I duck that out. I've just caught on. Yeah,
It's all right.
fuck. I've made that really awkward to edit. I think it was about 6:20. So
It's
there's
all
no way
right. We'll
getting
work.
past.
Yeah.
I'll go
Yeah. Well,
6:50. I can get it.
we can cut that bit out anyway.
Yeah,
'Cause
I'll pull it back at 7 minutes, and there's no way of getting past Adriano. Where will I lead on from there? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
7.
All right, I'll do it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, with being 2-1 down so far, I did want to get to 2-2. But even though I think my pick was pretty good, goalkeeper base for a player, for a character that would be suited to that position, I just don't see any getting past that Adriano.
I'd stress as well that whilst this is looking like a win for me, it feels a bit unclean. It feels a bit of a dirty win. I've picked a football player from a game, so like I'm not gonna look the ghost goal, Liverpool Chelsea. Who how many Liverpool fans are going? Oh, actually, I feel a bit bad about that.
Not me.
Exactly. So I'll take the goal. I'll move on. I'll always wonder whether I should have picked a true gaming icon up top, like Sonic the Hedgehog. Whether I should have picked
That would have been
somebody.
a good one, actually, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Why didn't we either of us do that?
Because some of us wasted our picks on the Wii Sports Me.
Be true to yourself.
But yeah, it's a cheese win, isn't it? It's a cheese win. We'll log this down in the history books, and I'll just have to. This will always have an asterisk. It's Liverpool winning the league last season. There'll always be an asterisk against it.
God, you're really trying to stomp on me now. You've already won, and then you.
Yeah. Any other and right now that win against Wolves, that's a false dawn. That was always going to happen. That's just a false dawn, mate. It's all about to go wrong again.
Anything else?
And I don't like your hair. Wait, what?
It's Van Dijk out for another season.
Yeah, I've been on the phone to Jordan Pickford. Next time you see Virgil kicking around. Well,
which will be a long time, by the way.
Well, hey.
Yeah.
So
there's no beating that. To be fair, we've never said you couldn't pick a footballer if it was suitable for the week. So you've done exactly that.
Yeah. Shall we roll through the teams and take stock of where we're at? So at home, playing for Nintendo Ipswich, it is in goal. We had the Nintendo Wii Sports Me. That he got subbed out, and Pac-Man replaced them. And then centre back was ultra aggressive Gandhi from Civilization. Centre midfield, Super Mario. Out wide, Eddie Gordo from Tekken. And up front was Adriano from Pro Evolution Soccer 5. And then they came up against the MK Donkey Kongs. It was Rayman in goal, Agent 47 at centre-back from the Hitman series. We had Mr. X from Resident Evil in centre midfield, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider out wide, and we had, of course, Master Chief from Halo up front.
You know what? I actually had another little thing to add to this podcast.
Oh, yeah?
I was thinking of adding managers to our teams. I know we're the managers, but I was thinking we could add another player that could be our manager.
Okay, so then we're like chairman.
Yeah, exactly. Or we're like the director of football, or
yeah, I can dig it. Yeah,
executive. And for this week, I thought what I'd start with, and obviously it would have been good if we'd done this in previous weeks, but for this week, have you played Red Dead Redemption 2?
Yes, not all the way through, sadly, but yes.
Do you know the character Dutch van der Linde?
I do.
I think he would be the perfect old-fashioned style manager, and he would be the ideal manager for any team.
This is a very good shout.
Throughout the story, he's the man in charge who plans out every single activity the gang partake in. He's clever, switched on, and full of energy, both mentally and physically. He'd be ideal. Personally, I think of him as the Mick McCarthy of the fancy football world.
All right.
A little bit eccentric, old-fashioned, yet capable of livening things up when needed. and he possesses a name from a country he's absolutely nothing to do with. So I think if I was to pick a manager for my and I know it's it's a relatively new game, but I just think he springs to mind as he's the one you want as your manager. Who would you have picked? Have you got someone in mind that you'd use?
Do you know, I hadn't really thought about it. All I can think of now is I wish I'd had J. Jonah Jameson for last week. But I
Yeah,
like this.
that would have been.
This is a good. Yeah, this would be a good segment. Off the top of my head, all I can sort of think of is, and it's not really great, but I guess we're riffing. I'd have gone with like Manager Man from Football Manager. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have done that because I've already got a football person from a football game. Oh, who would be a good
you're
manager?
pushing it now.
Yeah, who would be a good manager?
I genuinely nearly included the Monopoly Man in my team.
I was thinking about board games.
And I thought that would really throw you, but then I
Yeah.
thought he's not going to win anything.
Yeah, man. Oh, we should redo this episode.
Yeah, maybe we should. We'll do an alternative version.
Okay, cool. Yeah, managers. I like it. I like it. Can't think of one, but I like it. I'm there.
Well, you know what? You'll have to think of one for next week.
Definitely, definitely.
Because, you know what? I actually had another little thing to add to this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking of adding managers to our teams. I know we're the managers, but I was thinking we could add another player that could be our manager.
Okay, so then we're like chairman.
Yeah, exactly. Or like we're like the director of football, or
yeah, I can dig it. Yeah,
an executive. And for this week, I thought what I'd start with, and obviously it would have been good if we'd done this in previous weeks, but for this week, have you played Red Dead Redemption 2?
Yes, not all the way through, sadly, but yes.
Do you know the character Dutch van der Linde?
I do.
I think he would be the perfect old-fashioned style manager, and he would be the ideal manager for any team.
This is a very good shout.
Throughout the story, he's the man in charge who plans out every single activity the gang partake in. He's clever, switched on, and full of energy, both mentally and physically. He'd be ideal. Personally, I think of him as the Mick McCarthy of the fancy football world.
All right.
A little bit eccentric, old-fashioned, yet capable of livening things up when needed. And he possesses a name from a country he's absolutely nothing to do with. So I think if I was to pick a manager for my and I know it's a relatively new game, but I just think he springs to mind as he's the one you want as your manager. Who would you have picked? Have you got someone in mind that you'd use?
Do you know, I hadn't really thought about it. All I can think of now is I wish I'd had J. Jonah Jameson for last week. But I like this. This is a good. Yeah, this would be a good segment. Off the top of my head, all I can sort of think of is, and it's not really great, but I guess we're riffing. I'd have gone with like Manager Man from Football Manager. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have done that because I've already got a football person from a football game. Oh, who would be a good manager?
You're pushing it now.
Yeah, who would be a good manager?
I genuinely nearly included the Monopoly Man in my team.
I was thinking about board games,
and I thought that would really throw you, but then I thought he's not going to win anything.
Yeah, man. Oh, we should redo this episode.
Yeah, maybe we should. We'll do an alternative version.
Okay, cool. Yeah, managers. I like it. I like it. Can't think of one, but I like it. I'm there.
Well, you know what? You'll have to think of one for next week.
Definitely, definitely.
Because that is the end of this week's episode. And once again, it's another 3-2 win for you, sadly. But would our listeners agree that our picks were as strong as they could be and that the result was correct? Let us know on Twitter and Instagram at FantFantFoot. That's FANTFANTFOOT, and on YouTube on the official Fantasy Football podcast channel. You can also follow the Fantasy Football podcast and listen to last week, this week, and next week's episodes on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. To all who listened, we say thank you for tuning in this week, and we look forward to knowing you're there again next week, where it will once again be my turn to pick the theme and yet another chance to come out as the victor of Fantasy Football.